tomahawk.
And when it hits Kevin Durant's hands, it's a good pass, no matter who it was intended for.
In a tie game, Durant for three for the win. He's got it! Can you believe it?
Durant.
Oh my goodness, boy, he couldn't get
Yeah, I'm Kevin Durant. Y'all know who I am.
Kevin Durant has earned the nickname Slim Reaper because his unprecedented combination of size, skill, and shooting prowess made him the literal definition of a walking bucket.
Here is Durant for the
The man was born to put the ball in the basket. But how did we get to a point where every basketball fan on the planet knows who he is? This is the story behind Kevin Durant. Durant was born and raised in the Washington, D.C. area, one of 4 children of Wanda Durant and Wayne Pratt, who was in and out of the family's life during Kevin's childhood. Wanda raised Kevin and older brother Tony mostly as a single mother, working overnight shifts at the post office. There were many nights that I didn't know how we were going to make it. Even at a young age, however, the lanky younger brother of the family could already envision how he was going to eventually propel himself to fame and fortune.
Kevin came to me about 10 or 11 that he wanted to be a professional basketball player. And I said, okay. I said, but I'm going to push you. And you're going to be mad at me at times, but I'm going to push you because this is what you said you wanted. And I would come in the gym after doing practice, and the coach said, I want him to do 25 or something. And I was like, oh no, he needs to do 100. Oh! But I didn't care because this is what you said you wanted. So if you want it, you have to do more than the next person.
Between Kevin's size and natural talents, and Wanda's motherly motivation, Durant blossomed as a young hooper. Becoming an AAU star in the Maryland area while playing with future NBAers like Michael Beasley, Ty Lawson, and Gravis Vasquez. Durant spent his first 3 years of high school at National Christian Academy and legendary Oak Hill before transferring to Montrose Christian School for his senior year, where the budding prodigy took home the Washington Post's All-Met Basketball Player of the Year award and won MVP at the 2006 McDonald's All-American game. After a high school career like that, it's no surprise that Durant considered traditional NCAA powerhouses like UNC, Duke, UConn, Kentucky, and Louisville. But in KD's own words, or rather tweets, he wanted to blaze his own trail. It was at the University of Texas where the basketball world would truly come to understand how special a talent Durant was. It was also at Texas where Durant became synonymous with the number 35, which he began to wear as a tribute to AAU coach and father figure Charles Craig, who was murdered at age 35.
I wanted to do something for him, but I didn't know what. My godfather said the best thing you could do is wear a 35. That's the age he got murdered.
When Durant walked into Texas, no freshman had ever won any of the various National Player of the Year awards. By the time Durant's lone season as a Longhorn was over, his name was on the Naismith Award, the Wooden Award, the Associated Press Award, and the awards voted on by the Writers Association and the Coaches Association. Basically, every single National Player of the Year award you can come up with. It was an easy choice, given that the freshman forward averaged 25.8 points, 11.1 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 1.9 steals, and 1.9 blocks in leading Texas to a 25-10 record and the second round of the NCAA tournament.
Durant goes against Rush again. Gets him to jump, hits the jumper, and a chance for a three-point play.
And it was an even easier choice for Durant to forego any more collegiate ball, entering the 2007 NBA draft as the consensus number 2 prospect behind Ohio State big man Greg Oden.
With the second pick in the 2007 NBA draft, the Seattle Supersonics select Kevin Durant from the University of Texas.
Durant has become a complete basketball player whose freakish length also makes him an underrated defensive terror. but his otherworldly abilities boil down to some very simple facts that were evident even back then entering the NBA. He's a borderline 7-footer, forget his listed height of 6'10", who can put the ball on the floor and get his shot off over any defender who's ever roamed the earth. And before we move on, let's just get this out of the way now. Yes, it's easy in hindsight, given how brittle Oden proved to be and given what we now know about the evolution of the game, to say the Blazers were nuts for passing on Durant. But go back to 2007 and find even a couple experts who had him number 1 on their big boards. You can't.
And wait until you get a load of the freak of nature called Greg Oden. Greg Oden is faster than Durant in the three-quarter court sprint. He is quicker than Durant in the lane agility drill and has better numbers in the running and standing vertical jumps. In the standing vertical jump, a 7-foot center got a better vertical than Kevin Durant. Okay, draft over. Portland's taking Greg Oden. There's no other argument. Any talk show host who says Durant should be number 1 isn't doing their homework or is just trying to incite calls and be controversial. Greg Oden is the number 1 pick. It's all over.
KD's lone year in Seattle lived up to the hype. Durant cruised to Rookie of the Year honors by averaging better than 20 points per game. And though he was far from the efficient scoring machine he would become, he joined LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony as the only teenagers at the time to have averaged 20 plus in a season.
Triple. They need it. They got it. 7 field goals for Durant. A much better half here. He has 18 points.
It was during Durant's sophomore season as a pro, the franchise's first in Oklahoma City, that he and the Thunder began to turn some heads in the NBA. Even though the Thunder started 3-29 during the 2008-09 campaign and finished 23-59, the budding chemistry and potential between Durant and a rookie named Russell Westbrook was starting to show.
Harder and 10 points. Westbrook, thank you very much.
Durant also averaged 25 points per game as a 20-year-old sophomore. From there, KD and the Thunder were off to the races. Durant and Westbrook were joined by rookies James Harden and Serge Ibaka the following year, and the upstart Thunder won 50 games before pushing the eventual NBA champion Lakers to 6 games in the playoffs. Durant also won his first of 4 scoring titles that season, averaging 30.1 points while suiting up for all 82 games. By the 2010-11 season, Durant's 4th year as a pro, the Thunder were a Western Conference finalist, and they memorably rallied back from an 0-2 hole in the 2012 West Finals against San Antonio to set up an NBA Finals clash with the Big 3 era Heat.
Bosh has it poked away, Collison and Sefolosha. Here comes Durant to the basket, launches and fires it down.
Durant was fantastic in those finals, averaging better than 30 points per game, but his supporting cast just wasn't up to the task against a LeBron-led Heat team on a mission. Many believe that 2012 loss would be merely the first of many finals trips for this once-in-a-generation collection of young talent.
But they had a remarkable run.
You see the emotion from Durant pouring out. This team will be a force to be reckoned with. Great sportsmanship afterwards. Such respect between the two teams. Certainly Durant and LeBron James.
But it ultimately proved to be their peak. Harden was traded to Houston later that year, in what's now considered one of the cheapest and most short-sighted roster decisions in history.
Harden trying to get free. Down to 3, down to 2. It's a 3. Good! Good! He got it! James Harden, a flamethrower!
And seemingly nothing went right for OKC after the finals loss and that Harden trade. Westbrook's knee injury derailed the 60-win Thunder in 2013. Durant's first major injury, a foot fracture, prevented the team from being much of a factor in 2014-15. And as every NBA fan is now well aware, OKC blew a 3-1 lead against the 73-win Warriors in the 2016 West Finals, setting in motion Durant's eventual arrival in the Bay Area once the Warriors themselves blew a 3-1 lead against LeBron's Cavs in that year's NBA Finals.
I think we both blocked that whole year out of our memory. For sure. So we're good.
The Warriors' recruitment of Durant included Draymond Green calling KD from the Oracle parking lot after the finals loss to Cleveland, and a now infamous meeting in the Hamptons that included the Warriors' biggest stars. Before we move on to Durant's triumphs as a Warrior, let's go back to his final few years as a member of the Thunder, when KD's personal accolades continued to pile up. But whispers of a divide between Durant and Westbrook grew louder. So too did KD's apparent displeasure with the media. We'll get to that. Durant's 2013-14 season was one for the ages.
Knocked away by Johnson. Durant is going to pull up for the lead, and he drills it.
He averaged 32 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 5.5 assists while joining the ultra-exclusive 50-40-90 club, and was named League MVP. "I've been second my whole life," Durant told Sports Illustrated in the spring of 2013. "I was the second best player in high school. I was the second pick in the draft. I've been second in the MVP voting 3 times. I came second in the finals. I'm tired of being second. I'm not going to settle for that. I'm done with it." A year later, in the spring of 2014, Durant stood at a podium having finally convinced voters that he was basketball's best that season, which prompted one of the most touching and memorable moments in MVP speech history.
We wasn't supposed to be here. You made us believe. You kept us off the street, put clothes on our backs, food on the table. When you didn't eat, you made sure we ate. You went to sleep hungry. You sacrificed for us. You the real MVP.
Durant was seen as a media darling who could do no wrong at that point. So what changed in his perception of the media shortly after that? Was it the Oklahoman running this headline? Was it because he felt we minimized that iconic MVP speech? Or was it a personal matter? According to a 2019 Wall Street Journal piece, shortly after the real MVP speech, Durant and his mom went through a months-long rift after Kevin took control of his own financial affairs from Wanda. Was it sour grapes about still being seen as second best, even after winning MVP? Frustration over the fact he was sidelined due to injury shortly after winning that MVP award? Or was he simply buying into his own Nike marketing campaign that literally proclaimed KD is not nice?
You can't be Kevin. He's the nicest guy in the NBA.
Whatever the reason, Durant went from media darling to telling the media they, quote-unquote, don't know shit in the span of less than a year. And it's only gotten worse since then. Durant has engaged in a hostile back and forth with the media over the last 5 years or so, which boiled over in 2019.
Who are you? Why do I gotta talk to you? Tell me. Is that gonna help me do my job better? I'm done.
Perhaps part of the problem is that while most athletes don't care what we think of them, or at least pretend not to care, Durant seems to genuinely care too much. Remember, this is the guy who famously mixed up his personal Twitter account, the one with more than 18 million followers, with one of his burners while trying to act like a random fan defending Kevin Durant's honor.
I'm still gonna do the burner thing. I'm still gonna do that.
You still on it?
Yeah.
Clown KD for the burners if you want, even though your favorite player probably has a handful of their own. But think about what he was defending himself over. A free agency decision that had him having to embrace being called a snake. Critics rip athletes all the time for prioritizing wealth and fame over winning. Durant, who said all along his decision was going to come down to basketball, took less money and shared stardom with the likes of Steph Curry and company to put himself in the best possible scenario to win championships. And win they did.
There it is, redemption for Golden State. One of the great playoff runs of all time is complete.
The Warriors may have already been great before KD arrived, but Durant was the difference between a great team and an inevitable team. There's a reason he went 2 for 2 in Finals MVPs as a Warrior. It was his presence and his Game 3 daggers that sealed 2017 and 2018 Finals wins over LeBron's Cavs. And it was his absence that sunk the Warriors in 2019 against the Raptors, after Durant suffered a torn Achilles in his surprising return to the lineup following a concerning calf injury. In the end, while even beating James in back-to-back finals may not have changed anyone's mind about Durant still being second best, he left Golden State for Brooklyn last summer with little left to prove. He joins the Nets, having already spent chunks of his career as the best player on a perennial contender, and then the best player on an all-time team. He's won an MVP, 2 championships, and 2 finals MVPs. He's made 10 All-Star teams, 9 All-NBA teams, and has won gold medals at the 2012 and 2016 Olympics, as well as the 2010 World Championship. He's scored nearly 23,000 points in his NBA career, is one of 8 players in the 50-40-90 club, and ranks 6th all-time in per-game scoring. By the time Durant finally takes the court for the Nets next season, wearing a new number, he'll be a 32-year-old 7-footer who's been sidelined for a year and a half. But as we look back on the story behind Durant's rise to all-time legend status, we're reminded that, love him or hate him, no moment has ever proven too big for him. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video and want to see more content like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button.